announcements to make because this is extremely important, and I want to make sure it's clear to everyone. There will be a special meeting on rates and fees on October 24th. And the format basically is a public hearing which has been advertised in advance according to town guidelines and state requirements. And after that public hearing, we'll adjourn to a meeting and arrive at a decision on rates and fees for the coming year for the golf operation in Cranberry Valley, and submit that to the selectmen on November 9th. Also on November 9th, somewhat of a segue, according to Mr. Caffarelli, and Roman perhaps will amplify on this, we will be opening the bids for the building project as proposed. And on October 23rd, and of course, I believe anyone can attend, there will be a site committee meeting at Cranberry Valley for interested participants. As far as the bidding on the proposed cart barn building is concerned, that meeting will take place at 10 o'clock in the morning. So, to the agenda. First item of business is the September 19th minutes in their approval under the consent agenda. The motion
So
approved?
Second.
Okay, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much. Under old business, and this will be continuing and ongoing, of course, a building update. The majority of this, Roman, I think, because he's been there, and it was a pleasant surprise for me.
Clem, on the agenda is the director's report first, right?
Oh, I'm sorry, Roman,
That's all
as
right.
usual.
Yeah,
I
it's
did
okay.
it.
You're jumping the gun.
Poor
You're
guy,
jumping
you
the
get
gun.
all prepared and
That's all right.
race to get here. I apologize.
I'll fly through it. I don't have a
Okay.
ton to do, but
No.
I did prepare a director's report. Real fast, I'll go through a few things. If anybody noticed, there was a nice article about our survey in the paper. Jack Conley was quoted, so thank you for your quotes, Jack, in that. A number of members were quoted also, and it was really brought to light by Bill Galvin, the editor of the Chronicle, attending a selectmen's meeting where they presented the results of our survey. So I thought that was very, showed Cranberry Valley in a very positive light. We are currently getting a pro shop design by ProCraft. This is an initial design they're doing. Don't look too close at it because you got it all wrong on the first design, but this is in the editing stages of a new design for the pro shop. Hoping at the next meeting I'll have something more final for you. We received a certificate of recognition from capabilities for our employment opportunities for disabled people, particularly our janitor Mark. I attended a capabilities event where they discussed employment, and it just opened my eyes to maybe there's more opportunities for us to dig in a little deeper with capabilities. So we'll see if our partnership continuing to grow, because Mark is such an all-star on our staff. Mm-hmm. The point of the event I attended there was there were a lot of people talking about employment, the experiences with capabilities, and it turns out there's a lot of all-stars out there. We don't just need one, we could use more, and they're great for the overall culture of the business, and they're great for the culture among the staff. The staff like their jobs more when they work with people with disabilities. It's fantastic, and we're reaping that benefit right now with Mark. All the members love him, our staff loves him, he really elevates the whole place. So.
Could you review for a second too what his specific responsibilities are? Because he took on additional responsibilities.
Yeah, he took on additional responsibilities this year. He was hired to be a janitor. He expressed a desire to do a little bit more. He's got a lot of experience in golf carts. He lived in the villages in Florida for a while where he had his own golf cart. So we put him to work filling divots on the driving range on Sundays after church. He comes in after church and fills up the truck with loam and seed and goes on the driving range and fills it in. And by all accounts, the driving range tee has never looked better because it gets that extra attention once a week.
I thought that was great.
He's terrific.
He's terrific. He's
Yes.
absolutely terrific. So I thought, I thought we got lucky with him, and I know we did get lucky with him. It's opened my eyes to maybe we can get even luckier by there may be another few people out there.
How many hours a week does a person like that work?
10 to 20. Mark's about 10. but his 10 hours are invaluable. We had his janitorial job out. We were trying to find janitors in town that had hours available. We had the job posted. We couldn't find any applicants for it. It's a tough job to fill 5 days a week, 1.5 hours a day. It takes kind of the right individual. And when we had capabilities come in, I told them I thought that there'd be a lot of fulfillment for the right person, where they'd get to interact with a lot of people. They'd really be appreciated. And Mark has seen that. He just absolutely loves the job, loves all the appreciation he gets from all the members. His favorite's Ladies' Day. He's the absolute all-star with the ladies. I mean, the ladies just absolutely love him. I don't think he's had to have a baked good since the time he's worked at Cranberry Valley. They hand him cookies all day. And he gets postcards when they go away, and he gets...
Well, the bathrooms have never looked so immaculate.
He's just unbelievable. And the town facilities manager, Sean Libby, has been by, and he's admitted we have the best janitor in town, so,
Wow.
which I could not disagree with.
That's great, Robin.
All right, and then a little rundown of what's been happening for October. Well, these are events we just had. The Women's Golf Association member guest on September 26th. The Pals for Life event on the 4th. Senior Club Championship on the 5th and 6th. The Monomoy Athletic Booster Tournament on the 9th. Cape Cod Women's Golf League on the 12th. And the Land Ho Charity event just this past Monday. So we have been very, very busy still, and it's taken up kind of all of our resources because we're down to about half staff this time of year. So it's been a very busy time at the golf course. Luckily, we've had a good stretch of weather, and we're making up with some of these events for some lost days, some lost weekends. The weather's actually been very good in October, so these events have been a big help to the revenue for October. And that's all I wanted to highlight. Kept it simple this time.
Okay, just a quick question on the maintenance side. What's the staffing situation there?
We still have a reorg in progress. We're currently hiring for the Greenskeeper 1 position. That's still out. The interviews have been concluded, and a letter will be going out shortly to the new candidates. So I'll report on that next month.
Oh, great, great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Okay, moving on to old business. Our building update. Sorry, but got animated over this. The progress has been significant if you've been up to the golf course, and it's pretty remarkable what's been done in just a couple of short days. I had been in conversation with Link Hooper, and today, for example, the excavator was in just to do a little dust up, and all the equipment that you see in place is being manned and operated by Town Highway Department. And that, of course, is part of the deal that we brokered, you know, with the Highway Department, and it's, you know, just a great asset. So, Roman, I'll turn it over to you as far as
Let's see if this video we embedded
other
actually plays.
additions.
Clem challenged me on my PowerPoint skills to enter a video in this. Let me see if it works. It worked in my office.
It's kind of a guy thing, but if you like bulldozers and excavators.
I didn't quite catch what you were saying about the town.
Oh,
Was Barrows was in there doing the excavation?
Well, the equipment is owned by, I believe the Brian Barrows is the contractor. And that excavator that was down doing all the work and the mechanical work, you know, the bulldozers, they're being operated by Town Highway.
Oh, they are?
Lease
Yeah.
from Barrows. Lease
Oh,
from
okay.
Barrows.
Yeah,
Okay.
leased from Barrows. So we were able to
So the guy
broker-
that was working yesterday is for a town employee?
Yeah,
This week it's
Yeah.
all town employees. Yeah.
so, you know, the primary reason I'm mentioning that is, of course, it's consistent with the accrued savings that we got
Yeah.
out of doing it this way.
Now, the other question would be, a big part of this is gonna be the road from the 18th green to that area.
Yeah, yeah.
Is that gonna be the same deal where we're gonna rent the equipment, or does the town have the equipment to do that?
Town has the equipment. The town should be able to finish
Yeah,
that
the town-
after the building's up.
Right.
Oh, they're gonna do it after the building?
Yeah.
Clem,
I'm sorry.
is that leased equipment specifically for our task, or is it a bigger town
Just for us.
lease?
It was
just for
just
us?
for us, yeah.
Right.
And you know, because I talked to Link, I just wanted to make sure, you know, we're on the right track here, blah, 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 and he said, absolutely, he said, for them to go in with what they have, it just would have been more time and more labor. And that's what he was looking at, the labor component. And, I mean, I'm not in the business, you'd have more knowledge of this, Bob, but what they did, for those that have been up there, I thought was remarkable. I mean,
It's
in
been
one
very
day,
cost effective too.
to
We've-
see the depth and degree of work. I mean, I was surprised, Martha. I was thinking more in terms of, oh, okay, it's gonna be 180.
I didn't think it would be that big.
It's a little shocking, yeah.
I was shocked.
Yeah.
But the machines that they pull in,
Yeah.
I mean, those are serious machines.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, the trees they were putting through that cruncher were like,
Yeah.
that chipper were unreal.
Yeah, no, it was impressive.
So the video,
The video did not play.
it didn't play.
I think it played off my hard drive in my office, but it's not pulling it. It didn't transfer over with
Okay.
the PowerPoint presentation. Here's a photo of the cleared lot. It sounds like everybody's seen it. It is a little shocking. Sean Fernandez has been the point of contact with the town highway department. He's been doing a fantastic job with these guys. And then one other aspect of the project, as I mentioned last week, was we had a landscape design created for our new entranceway as a finish on this project. Once again, this will be in an editing stage, but this is a first step of the design we've gotten from the landscape architect. And it's actually pretty exciting. I was just showing this to Clem today. I just got this through email. Very detailed down to every flower and plant that they recommend, but really what I was interested in was the hardscapes. And you can see even from a distance that there's a retaining wall. If you see the chopped lines there that are the old cart barn, the parking lot comes up much closer to the island. And then there's a nice hardscaped walkway that leads up to a 21-inch retaining wall. Then that walkway continues on through the current island, through the current bag drop area, or through the new proposed bag drop area, leading the customers right up to the clubhouse. So this is a starting point. We're gonna go back for edits with the landscape architect that drew up these plans, but it's gonna be an exciting finish on the project. It's in the works right now.
And hopefully it'll
Where-
fit into,
Where's the clubhouse?
The clubhouse is the busy stuff you see all the way on the left side.
Far left.
Oh, the far left.
so essentially, Roman, that's a curved walking path,
Curved
Yeah,
walking
that's-
path that leads
that's
from
gonna
the,
be
leads from the
pedest-
parking lot.
yeah, pedestrian friendly.
Yeah.
So people coming into the parking lot would get their bags out of their vehicles and then walk up the walkway and then drop them there?
Right, and we're gonna have, again, this is a first step, so we're gonna work this out operationally. Do you see the three cars?
I can.
Yes, yes.
That's where the cars pull over, that's
And
gonna be
you
a bag
drop.
drop
There.
area.
Oh, there,
That'll be a
okay.
bag drop area right there. We're gonna have carts on the, if you see the hardscapes on the outside rim of the, island.
Where do the cars pull up?
This is the
Right.
current car barn area.
Right where the
Yeah.
3 cars are.
Oh, yeah.
John.
This was the current entrance into the parking lot before the cart barn.
Yeah.
Right,
Sorry, you can't read it there. This would be the new turning area here.
Oh,
The
okay.
cars come through, come back into the parking lot here. This walkway starts from where the old cart barn
oh,
was
yeah,
and goes through all the way up through the current green area and comes out. This is where the cars come now all the way up to the clubhouse
Right.
and turn around.
mm-hmm,
So they walk through here and then here's your path to the steps of the clubhouse.
that's beautiful.
It's
Now, where's
beautiful.
the staging area now?
So, the one thing that I'd caution everybody, this is not something we're acting on right away, this is in an editing phase. And I thought this design was aesthetically very pleasing, but we're still working on the functionality of it. What I'm thinking is, where we're gonna stage the carts, their plan was the hardscapes that you see over near Mike around the outside of the circle, that allows for 2 rows of carts, going all the way around that side of the circle, so that we could fit 20+ carts right there, 20 to 30 carts right there.
The only reason I wanted to know that is in the white space in between where the carts are gonna be staged
Yep.
and the old cart barn, where the cars come in,
Right.
is all gonna be grass.
Yes, yes. And we're gonna add to this because I think it's missing some more cart staging areas, cart staging opportunities. So this is just a first draft, but it's a pretty exciting first step.
The slots were husked over, are still, those?
Yep, that's
Yeah.
still there, so
Same slots?
the
restaurant.
Looks
vehicles can come through the bag drop area and then just bear right to get in there.
Current ones that are
Yeah.
still-
Will you be able to drive between where you're talking about the staging area for the carts and the clubhouse?
No,
I don't think so.
no, we're gonna turn it around. Those are movable planters, those 3 triangles, rectangles you see there. Those are movable planters that we're gonna have movable just for emergency vehicles.
That's perfect.
Look great.
So that's a critical point, the emergency vehicles. That distance that was just brought up by John, between the end of the walkway and the clubhouse.
Right,
Needs to be very specific and approved by the.
right.
Oh, yeah.
Before we act on any
Fire
of this, we'll have the fire inspector approve it.
Right. And now, this does or does not include any parking lot changes?
This, the current plan that we had this gentleman draw up does not include any parking lot changes, other than it does represent new parking places. There's a spot on there that, let me see if I can delineate it here. There's probably 15 new parking places on this, because if you see, let me see if I can see that one. I can't read it. This is the back end of the current car barn, so the parking places probably start here now, and then they're gonna extend a little closer, so you're gaining 15 parking places over there. But no, he did not, part of our plan with the landscape architect was not to redesign the whole parking lot.
When we get into that phase, Bob, we are going to be looking at, the most efficient way to reorganize that. And another thing that I looked into personally is, because of the cost effectiveness, if we were to, because we had brought up this in discussion within the committee, if we were to put in lighting in the parking lot and conventionally did it, in ground with wires and conduits and so on, it is very, very, very expensive. And it's amazing the solar-powered lights that are available now, self-contained, energy renewable, et cetera. Those are pretty cost-effective. And so we're going to try to do a comparison of both, so that everybody can see it in an open way and make a judgment. But I was impressed. For several $1,000s each, you get a pretty good system that basically you just bolt in place. If you don't like it where you've got it, you can move it again.
Well, we definitely plan for having lights in the parking lot.
Oh, yeah, yeah, definitely.
And then also video surveillance, right?
Right. I talked to Foster Bamford to that point today, and I said, be thinking about that, because I believe, correct me please, but is it security, Seaside Security, or the
Seaside
company
Alarms.
that you have? Seaside Alarms?
That's the company.
Yeah.
Local company.
He said they would be the people that he would engage, to expand that footprint for surveillance. But that'll give us security for the new building. In terms of incidents, parking lot wise, that you might want to have a record of, it'll give us that opportunity. So I think both are key. John?
My assumption is if you don't want to use the bag drop-off area, then you can still take a left.
It's still a
before you
turn
get
into
to
the
that
park.
spot,
Yeah.
Like we do today.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Can it be explained to me why this plan design and its final draft, I understand that this is still in its conceptual stage, and the parking lot reconfiguration is not or has not been or was not part of the RFP for the whole project? Seems to me as though it should be.
Oh, no,
I think originally, the plan was to have the town do that on their own. The town was gonna do all the maintenance of the parking lot and reconfigure the parking lot, and repave it.
yeah.
That was the original
That's-
plan.
Aspect of
That's,
the project.
Well-
that's the way that's the way it was proposed.
So it was not gonna be done by an outside firm.
Well,
That was the original plan.
the original design was done by Raber and Brown that did include all this.
Yeah.
Right.
So that has changed.
No, we would still follow, the one thing that we were looking for here, Bob, was to kind of just look at this one area here. But the rest of the parking lot, we would utilize that design when we use the town's highway department to do the parking lot.
Okay.
That would be a separate phase. We were planning on that as being a separate phase of the project.
Okay, anything else from to date?
No, I mean, I think the exciting news is that we're going out to bid.
Yeah.
and,
Could I
you
mention
covered
this
all that.
too, because it's significant? Bob Caffarelli's been very dedicated to our project, and unfortunately, he had a cardiac event, I guess, and, you know, so we lost a little time here in the last week plus, so the good news is he's back on the job, and should be helping us to shepherd this forward, so.
So as we look at these dates again, okay, I'm looking at the minutes from the last meeting, and it says that the bid package was complete on the 29th of September.
Yeah, that's been delayed, as Clem said. The bid package is actually, the date that it's going to the register is tomorrow.
Yeah.
Tomorrow, so tomorrow, that's backed up a little bit. Tomorrow is the day that it's
10/18.
actually.
So that's 15, that's 2 weeks past.
Right. Right.
And advertise the bid package October 12th in the newspaper would be the 18th as
It would all
well.
follow that same schedule, yeah, except 2 weeks later.
2 weeks later. Bid opening was 2 weeks later,
Yeah.
and that's now 11, you mentioned the
I
date, but I missed it.
mentioned the 9th,
You mentioned the
the
9th.
9th.
Okay. And that means the awarding of the bid would happen on 2 weeks later?
Probably the following, whenever
It
we
would
get
be-
it on the selectmen's
It would be the
agenda.
following selectmen's meeting, John.
Sorry, I haven't done a new schedule for that yet. It just
No,
just
just
happened that
happened.
Bob Caffarelli was just back in the office for the first time today and put the bid out.
He did, okay.
Link must have heard us talking about the parking lot.
I heard.
Well, is there also, not only the cardiac situation, but is there also some competition going on between here and Saquatucket, for example, anything that's going on there?
I don't know about competition, but it's a shared, yeah, we've got,
I mean, we're competing for time to create, to finish tasks. is what I
Yeah.
mean.
Boats and bulldozers,
Well, yeah.
they're different. I joke.
what we
Okay.
ended up seeing is, we were really happy that Bob, as Clem was saying, that Bob came right back and completed the bid package today, because we were really looking at a Plan B. And it turns out that, you know, licensed procurement officer in the town there's 3 of them, Bob, the town administrator, Chris Clark, and the new town accountant, Carol. And so the Plan B was getting a little scary. It would have been a little more difficult to find somebody's time and effort to complete the bid package. So it was great news that Bob's back on the job today and completed it.
And especially because he has had direct contact with, and the key component to this whole thing moving forward in an expedient way is coastal engineering and their work regarding the foundation work, Bob, you know, for the building. And those two things, there's a lot of behind-the-scenes work that Bob's been doing on our behalf for that. So I'm glad it's him, because it would have made things very complicated. So we can move on. All right, under new business, people, rates and fees and recommendations from the Director of Golf to the committee for 2018. We're going to move into this topic for discussion, and historically, in terms of timetable, this has always been the case. The committee reviews the recommendations from the Director of Golf, and then we bring that to a public forum, and then we make a decision on our recommendation to the Board of Selectmen. So, Roman, wherever you'd like to start.
So I figured I'd start off at the end. I'm gonna start off with a summary of the recommendations, then I'll go through them.
Okay.
So the summary of the recommendations is gonna be to raise all major greens fees by $2, which is gonna be a surcharge to the Golf Infrastructure Fund, with no change to Twilight, Junior Twilight, or the temporary rate. Raise the in-season weekday rate $5, and we'd capture $2 of that in the surcharge, just to create an in-season 7-day-a-week fee. I think our business is strong enough to sustain that. Currently, our weekday rate in summer is $3 less than our weekend rate. There's really no need to separate those. Summer is all in-season, so we're gonna raise our weekday rate to right in line with the 7-day-a-week in-season rate. Raise all memberships $20, which would be a surcharge captured in the Golf Infrastructure Fund. Merge the junior 1 and 2 categories into one membership category, which we call a junior student, ages 7 to 21. And raise gin handicap fee by $5. And that's just due to a $5 increase from the provider, and the MGA is charging $5 more for that. So here's what it looks like. See if you can see that well here. This is the handout everybody has. I highlighted in yellow exactly what I said, so exactly what our rates are. I can't see them that great right here, but basically everything in yellow is all our major fees. They're all, I have $2 added to them. And I've got a clearer breakdown of that upcoming. Then here for the proposed membership fees, the adult Harwich and Chatham resident fee would be $7.90, Eastern Orleans $8.90, adult non-resident $10.90, young adult $4.90, junior student 7 to 21 years old $125, junior non-resident would stay the same at $350, and the gym membership would be $45 with $5 added to it. Here's a comparison of how against our competition. This comparison, the other towns haven't done their rates and fees yet, so this is comparing against last year's rates and fees. But Barnstable's at $9.50, and I watched their rates and fee meeting, and they're proposing to go up 2% every year infinitely, just to cover cost of doing business. So they're at $9.50, and then anticipating a plus 2%. Yarmouth was at $8.50. Dennis is the cheapest at $7.49. Brewster's at $9.27, and we'd be placed right in there on the low side at $7.90 for our residents. Our other fees are kind of right around the least expensive behind Dennis in each category. I highlighted a few of the categories in greens fees. The top greens fee, they range from, let's see, $69 to $84. We're kind of, once again, a little bit above the lowest, right around the median at $74 would be our top greens fee. Twilight fee, that's one reason I didn't recommend raising that. I separated that out as not being raised. I think that's a really price-conscious group, and for the people that are want to wait until later in the day to play when it's more affordable, I thought we'd have a more affordable option for them. If you raise that just by $2, that percentage-wise, that's taxing them a little higher. Our cart fees are right in line. 11 to 21 seems like the norm. Some of the courses go a little bit higher on the 9-hole rate, but we're 11 to 21, right at the norm. And then their gin fees were all right around $40, which is exactly where we are. I expect them to all be at $45. Dennis may stay $5 below everybody else, but because the MGA is raising those $5, I expect them all to be the standard to be $45.
Wow. Yep.
The rate history, how well this shows on there. Yeah, okay, you can see that. Will show that the membership has not gone up since 2014. It's been $7.70 for the last 3 years, and so actually 2014 through, is that 4 years? 4 years. So this would be the first raise since the raise in 2014. Okay, and then as far as the greens fee history goes, the years are not on the top, but you can kind of get a sense of it. We've gone up incrementally. This goes all the way back to
2008?
Yeah, 2008. 2008, they started at 36, they're now at 44 for preseason. And for the highest rates in season, we were at 62 in 2008, and we're at 74 is where we're pros now. Not a huge jump. In fact, it's been very incremental. So that leads me right back to the summary, and I won't read that again. The one thing that I did want to mention was, we're not there yet, but I think to anticipate maybe for next year, we may add a new category. We may get our first few injured veterans through the SLU Military Golf Association entering an instructional program this upcoming year.
Yeah.
And so I talked to Tom Johnson about this before, because he really helped start our relationship with the SLU Military Golf Association. It may be appropriate for next year. I don't think it is, we need to this year, but for next year's rates and fees discussion, to maybe have a SLU Military Golf Association member rate that would maybe mirror a young adult rate or something like that, to be a little incentive there. But Tom recommended discussing that with the town council.
Roman, just a quick question regarding the military. In active military, we discount 25% off the greens fees.
Yes.
I'm just curious, is there any way that you track that number of people that actually have taken advantage of that? Because I'm just guessing, it's a very, very small number.
Very small number. We don't track it because it's a discount, it's not a separate greens fee, but that being said, it's a tiny number. I mean, really, the few golf courses closer to Otis see more active military, we see very little active military taking advantage of that, so I didn't recommend any change on it. We do promote it, but we don't see very much.
I was just thinking, because of the small number, that we might be able to go to half price. I mean, a 25% discount,
What did the other clubs do?
yeah,
We're kind of in line with them. A lot of them are doing 25%, some are doing 10%.
yeah.
The thing I think makes us unique that I think I try to capture some of the, that one particular group from the SLU Military Golf
Yeah.
Association as members, because we are gonna be the only chapter of the SLU Military Golf Association on Cape, so
Yeah.
injured veterans in Falmouth, in Sandwich and Bourne are all gonna come to Cranberry Valley for that program, so, and it's not gonna be a huge number. I think it'd be great to, in the future, offer a membership rate for people that are members of SLU Military
What
Golf
about
Association.
25% off on the green fees and give them a complimentary cart?
That could be, one thing we get into that's a little sticky with the complimentary car, Martha, we have a revenue sharing right now with the
Yeah,
car
yeah.
company, that it would be disingenuous to them to give away the cart when really our contract with them is we give them money for every cart that goes out.
Oh, I see.
So it's actually quite limiting when it comes to tournaments and things like that, where there's discounted fees, that in order to be true to our contract with them, we have to still pay them the proper amount per cart that goes on the golf course.
Well, maybe, working into this next year, if we track that, the impact of and the participation, maybe it would be something worth, looking at
Sure.
next year, as far as the percentage or perhaps a different approach.
Okay, because I agree that we do
But,
advertise
the fact that we're consistent with everybody else, that's fine.
we do advertise the rate, and we see very little
Yeah.
action on it.
Any discussion between the courses about the $30 exchange courtesy rate, okay, for the shoulder seasons?
Yeah, it's just fine. I reached out to all the other golf courses this year just to make sure the agreement was still appropriate for everybody, and that it was. It was unanimously said it's well received, so.
Good, great.
And that worked just
Yeah,
fine.
it's a great deal.
That's a great deal.
For everybody else, what exactly is that incentive?
We get,
Well, for
we
example,
can,
We can play Ocean, no.
No.
We can play Captains, we can play Dennis Pines, we can play Highlands.
Barnstable for $30.
$30.
Oh, wow.
And I think
They can come here, it's the same thing.
All the municipals.
all the municipal
Yeah.
golf courses. And I think that we benefit as much as anybody does, because everybody wants to come play Cranberry
Yeah.
Valley. So we get a lot of action on weekdays in the off-season. It's very nice. We see members from every
That's
golf
great.
course, so it's
Great.
very good. That's been going on since 2006, I think.
$30 greens fee and then a cart would
Then
be
a
on
cart.
top
Plus.
of that?
If
Yeah.
they want to take it, they can walk also.
Yeah.
Back to the military membership, potential membership. I would think that the greens fee and the membership, we should try to formulate a flat rate discount percentage for both. And they,
That makes sense.
if it's 25%, so be it. If it's 50%, so be it. But I think it should be similar,
That makes
Yeah.
sense.
the two.
Good point, Bob.
And I don't know if, once again, when I was looking forward to the SLU Military Golf Association, for somebody to be a member of that program, they would need to go through an 8-week instructional program to enter the SLU Military Golf Association. We haven't had any candidates for that yet, so I think it's premature to
Yeah,
even
exactly.
offer the membership. I think it is something in the future we should discuss, but I don't know if it needs to be part of this year's rates and fees.
Very good. Any other comments?
Looks good.
This is,
Nice job.
Okay.
I will
Jeff?
say that our 770 includes our golf improvement fund contribution, right?
Yes.
I mean, we should have raised rates previously instead of keeping it 4 years at the same rate, but I think we're underselling the quality of our course. I think
Yeah.
we're
Point well
low, and
taken.
we're not only, other than Dennis, we're like really low. Just want to say that.
Okay.
I think when I sent you email with the information before the meeting, and I think really it's not just a matter of where we stand in the golf community, but I think it's what our needs are. The rates recommendations that the raises in the rates that I recommended are all surcharges going into the Golf Infrastructure Fund to kind of pay for commitments we've already made for the project we're currently doing. So, and I didn't really see any other need where our funds are being fed well enough to do the projects we need to do. We have a good long-term plan on the golf course. We're meeting revenue goals. I really didn't see a need to go up in anything else. I think we've got room to grow within the current rate structure.
Roman, one quick question too about the membership fees, because I thought it was a great step forward. Could you amplify on the final number of young adult memberships that we brokered there
Sure.
for the year?
No, I think that was a good success. I presented this, I think, in the end of summer meeting, but we ended up with, off the top of my head, I think it was 28 young adult memberships. So, and we are doing a good job each year getting a lot of new memberships. This past year, it was really highlighted by the fact that with all the rain we had, and then I know I mentioned to you in the summer when we were talking revenues, our revenues were down on greens fees because we had the new prepay policy, or the pre-booking policy, so that hurt our end of fiscal year 17 numbers. While the greens fees were down due to the rain, the greens fees were down due to that, the membership revenue was up, and that really helped mitigate the losses we had, where we ended up at the end of 2017 reaching 97% of our goals, which was pretty good after such a rainy spring we had, in addition to the new policy that we knew was going to hurt us in the spring. So I think we've done a good job of collecting that membership money, and that's going to help protect us against rainy seasons.
Yeah, and if we were looking at implications as far as weather's concerned, how about cart usage? How did that fare, in the big picture?
Yeah, so car usage, we were down in, off the top of my head, I think these numbers are pretty much right on. We were down 11% in greens fee revenue at the end of FY17, but down 6% in car usage. I think that car usage is more the actual indicator of how much we were hurt by the weather, because those numbers are pretty consistent year to year. So I think the 6% we were down in car usage shows our business was down 6% due to weather. And the other 5% that we were down in greens fees was due to our new policy.
Yeah, that's a good way to gauge it.
Yeah, and then but with a strong October so far, this fiscal year, FY18 so far starting off just fine, even though we have had weather challenges. Our revenue's right on.
Excellent. John?
I'd like to redirect it to Jeff, because I think you brought up a good point. I mean, since we haven't gone up in 4 years for an annual increase, do you have a recommendation in terms of how we should be approaching this, or how we should put a value to that?
You can't recover it all at one time.
Right.
But $20, I'd go $30. I'd move it up to 800. I mean, we ought to be priced. We think we have a better course, physically better course than most of the competition. Not saying, everyone will have a different opinion, but we have a pretty high opinion of our course, yet we're underselling it compared to the other courses on the Cape. Yes, they have 2 courses, and some of them have had financial difficulties, but just because we've been a good steward and had good success with our maintenance program at the course doesn't mean that our product is worth less than other towns, should be priced less than other towns that we think we're at least as good as, and maybe better in some cases. So I'd go 30. I mean, if we went 50 or 60, that would be, we should have been doing a little bit each year, and we'll never recover that. So.
Well, I think part of what the reasoning behind not doing it over most recent years is the introduction of the Golf Improvement Fund.
Yeah, which,
Right.
in essence, did create
An increase
An
to
increase.
the membership.
Right.
So,
But the 770 includes that, so we're still well under.
that's right, it does. But we have to keep in mind the individual member as well as the competition. What we're not seeing in this profile is the competition's last 6 years. We're only seeing ours.
No.
Okay.
Roman's got the competition in there for the last 6 years.
Not the history, I don't believe.
Not the
I don't
history.
think I had the history.
But-
of the competition.
So, and the reason I say that is that Golf Improvement Fund is what brought us, I don't want to say totally, but it brought us closer to their ranges.
Oh,
And then they surpassed us over the most recent couple of years through just greens fees, not through improvement funds.
And another way to look at it too is the fact that with a $20 increase, which is certainly modest this year, there's always, to your point, Jeff, the potential to do a modest increase next year. And that you could do it incrementally, going forward, which would,
yeah. Well, no, I
support
think-
your point.
Yeah, but I think that's what we should be doing. You know, we should be pricing ourselves
Yeah.
within range of our competition. You know, why would we think we're not worth more?
I agree.
And I still don't follow your point.
Well, that's a very subjective viewpoint, though.
You what?
That's a subjective viewpoint.
Whether we're, yeah, but
True.
Because you could get that pushback, you brought up the point. A lot of these municipalities, they have multiple golf courses available, and that's what they always throw out as an argument, at least that I've heard, John, that, Captain says there's 2 courses available, there's 3 in Yarmouth, that kind of thing, so,
But that begs the
But
argument
that's
that they
why-
should reduce their rates to try and fill slots that we are already filling now.
yeah,
So they should be reducing their rates and making them closer to ours so they can draw more people there.
Well, they do
But they
that through
don't.
daily specials.
Yeah.
We constantly see that.
true, but we're not talking about daily rates, we're talking about annual fees. And just correct me if I'm wrong, but you're saying, how much is the golf improvement fee?
75.
$75, and so effectively, well, I won't go there.
690.
But of the $770, $75 of that goes to the golf improvement
Yes.
fund. So I don't follow your point.
My point is that we started, I believe that Golf Improvement Fund started with a $50 fee, and then we increased it to a $75 fee. And we got, I don't want to say we got a lot of resistance, but we got some kickback from our existing membership.
When did that start, though?
About 5 years.
I'm going to say about 5 years.
Golf Improvement Fund started in
So-
2014, wasn't it?
14, yeah.
14.
And it was,
So
and
it's
it-
less.
Capital
and that-
Infrastructure
But
Fund
some of that
started.
money came from allocating what was the annual fee to the golf improvement fund, and then a little bit more, and that's how it came from taking away some that the town got and adding some of the increase to it, so I still don't see.
Yes, but our membership doesn't care about that.
Well, no, they
That-
care about the net cost to them,
That's correct.
and the net cost to them is $770.
I think you bring up a very good valid point, though. I think what we have to do is really look at the metrics year to year now and say, what is a value that we should put on our membership? And, by not having increases in the last 4 years, I think we've been lucky by having the Golf Improvement Fund, because that's filled a niche, really. Before, we used to have to grapple with how we would go to the town to get money to do projects. And now at least we have some flexibility built into our system where we can do projects on our own without having to grapple for $20,000.
Do we have
So-
a sense of the price sensitivity of this rate, okay, for our membership? I agree with everything you're saying. Every year we should be taking another look at this thing and adjusting accordingly, as opposed to going 4 years without a change. But now if you go from a 30, that's to $800, and it's a psychological, it's like 99 cents versus
Yeah,
$1.
exactly.
Okay, there's a psychological thing about going from $790 to $800. Not to say we shouldn't do it, okay, but I'm very sensitive to that, and I question whether our members, how sensitive they are to a price increase that takes us to $810 or $820 or something like that. I don't know.
I'd also ask, what are we gaining by going up? By taxing our members like that, what are we gaining when it's not going into a fund that's gonna create projects on the golf course? It's just gonna go into the town general fund, unless we're saying we're gonna capture it for more golf course improvements. I think a good model would be to keep the membership as affordable as we can, and to try to get as many memberships as we can, continue to grow the member slots on the tee sheet. And as we open with this new project, with the new electric cart fleet, new solar electric cart fleet, we have a better product. on the high end of the greens fees, and have a real premium greens fee where, you know, maybe in the future, we're 65% member tee times, 35% non-member tee times, but the non-members are paying the highest greens fee out of our competition because we have the best product.
That's basically our metric today, though.
Yeah.
It's basically the 30-70 rule. I think the members probably have closer to 70% of the tee times. Non-members have 30%, but the revenue is flipped. Non-member revenue is closer to 70%. The member revenue is closer to 30%, although that might change a little bit this year based on the increase in memberships. But I mean, before, we always worked in that 30-70 split or 40-60 split.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's within those two parameters, I think.
Right, I think it's closer to 60-40, 65-35.
Yeah.
So,
But I think-
Your point's well taken, Romano, because what I don't want to do is be in a situation where we are generating so much excess cash
Right.
that, and it's going in the general fund, that then the town will be looking to us
Right.
to fund shortfalls elsewhere. And the pressure on us will be immense to raise rates through the roof.
And if everybody, I'm sure you read it, if you looked at Chris Clark's charge as far as budgeting, you know, by department, and Roman could certainly speak to this.
It's gonna be
The
tight.
golf operation gets a lot of scrutiny. You've got the town administrator, as well as our new financial officer, and they look very carefully at what we've done, and I think the good news that we can share is at least the fact that we've been fiscally responsible. And if you're gonna, you know, throw an increase in, I think it should be reflected to the fact of, you know, what are our expenses? You know, because that would provide justification.
Well, then that would have justified an increase, because
Yeah.
did everyone get a raise this past year?
There's annual 2.5%.
2.5%, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, and did all the supplies and stuff that you order, and did they all cost more money? Everything costs more money. And, you know, it's a great thing. I don't happen to be a member, but I would be delighted to pay that amount of money. I just think that we're underselling the asset that we have.
Well, you're right, because in a perfect world, the fee should be going up 3% a year,
Yeah.
minimum,
Yeah.
just
But,
to control the cost.
I can't
But our taxes
I can't
go
quote our mission statement off the top of my head, but it's to provide affordable golf
Exactly.
for the
Yeah,
town,
yeah.
for
Yeah.
town residents.
I think it's a good discussion to have, though.
I think it's a great discussion, but I think we also have to realize, as I said, is that we're taxpayers. And our taxes go up every year. And so we feel that this is a benefit to us as taxpayers to be members of the club.
The
It
non-
is.
the non-golfing taxpayers wouldn't see it that way.
Yeah,
And-
probably not.
And the same is said for our competition.
Yeah.
Their membership is saying the exact same
Yeah.
thing.
Okay. Everyone said their say. I think it's something, certainly, Jeff, we can look at through the year, and, you know, especially as we get involved in the budgeting process, moving into November and December.
Clem, you made one comment
Yes.
that I'd like to follow up on. You mentioned that the town clerk, the town administrator, and certain people within the town look at the golf operation. What specifics do they look at? I mean, what are they looking at?
Well, I mean, I think what Clem was talking is generalities, like when we sit down and do our budget annually, I sit down with the town administrator and we critically go over line by line. On a daily basis, the accounting office has never been so diligent about going over every invoice submitted, and I think that's what Clem's talking about, is just overall oversight and involvement in our finances.
But they don't question your revenue target.
No.
How many members do we
See,
have?
if I was in the town, I'd be questioning the revenue
Around
target.
100.
But their,
But, oh,
but
that's
their
including-
finger is on the pulse.
Yeah.
Which is good.
Which is
So
good.
let's say-
Especially
It's
compared to
around 1,000.
5 years ago,
So,
or,
so the $20
going
will raise
back historically.
$19,000 more revenue.
That's, the one thing that I failed to mention that I emailed everybody was the goal of the rates and fee increase is to pay this debt schedule that was given to me by the town accountant, which, if we approve these rates and fees that, as I proposed, it'll raise $97,000 annually in our golf infrastructure fund. That should pay the debt for the most part in its entirety. And once we hit year like 2025, we're paying the debt plus doing other projects, plus making money.
Okay.
I have another question, according
Yes,
to the golf.
John.
I mean, Bob Miller.
Yeah.
I mean, would you consider that to be a success this year in terms of what he's brought to the golf course in terms of golf instruction?
Absolutely.
And, good. And his contract runs what? How long is he?
Off the top of my
Two
head, I
more
think we
years?
signed him to 5 years, and
Yeah.
this year's the second year of 5 years, I believe.
Okay, and his instruction period goes from what, May through October? Or how
April
does?
through October, I believe.
April through October? Okay.
And then it goes up incrementally 5% each year, and then we made an addendum to his contract last year where we allow him to sell custom fit clubs, and we retain 25% of the profits from that. So I don't have the numbers in front of me, but it goes up incrementally.
So it's a good program for both Harwich and Bob Miller.
Absolutely, I agree it's a success.
Is he happy with the program?
Yes.
Good.
And we just installed a new T-line. We've been working with him all summer where we put a new shed down in his teaching area because he is expanding on his club sales and his club fittings. So he approached us with ideas to have a van down there, and we kind of haggled with him about that and said we'd rather put a shed up. So we put a shed up there, and then the extra material from our new T-line on our driving range, we used that to we poured a new pad in his area and used the extra material to make a new T-line in the teaching area. So we've significantly improved the teaching area this year.
Good.
And he's been very happy with those improvements.
And I would ask that we keep this in mind when, I know we're only in year 2 of 5 of his contract, that we keep this improvement topic in our minds 3 years from now when we are renegotiating that, because it's gonna be water under our bridge at that point.
Yeah.
But we are offering him
Right.
a beautiful facility,
Increasingly better.
probably the best on Cape Cod.
Yeah.
And he.
That's a great point, Bob.
And I'm not criticizing Bob at all. He's doing wonders for us. But it needs to be fair on both ends.
Yeah.
Yep.
And in 3 years, we're gonna revisit that.
And collaterally, because it's another aspect of the operation, I was up yesterday and talked to Ron Leidner, and as far as the hot stove's concerned, that, in my humble opinion, has been very successful. And he also mentioned the fact that the $15,000 budgetary-wise that, we use as an incentive, Bob, for him in his operation, he said that he's just about spent it all in terms of improvements. Simple things like some of the furniture, Martha, you guys probably are aware of. If you remember, we inherited some of the furniture, outside stuff. He said it was literally falling apart and dangerous to a point, and he's been incrementally replacing that.
Right.
So I broached the subject because on a recent trip, I saw this more often than not. I said, boy, as we've discussed, those transparent weather curtains that you can roll down to give a little bit of wind shear as far as the deck is concerned. And he referenced an event that he had where there was more than the 50 number seating and people would have to be on the deck. And he said, we just lucked out in terms of the weather. And so, I mean,
That being said, I think that's kind of complicated though, because I've talked to him about that as well. And you're talking about a couple days of the year, and the rest of the time he says, I can't fill the room I've got. And I mean, the rest of the, how often do you go in there and that's a full room? It's rare, so
but some of the other things he mentioned, some of the shoulder season activities. He's had some strong bookings, going into the fall. And I think that's, from his perspective, maybe potential growth of the business in those shoulder seasons, in the spring when it's cool, and or the fall, so. We'll see what
But,
happens.
correct me if I'm wrong, but doesn't every tournament event create more than 50 patrons for him?
Yes, he's allowed to serve on paper and plastic.
On those
and
events.
go infinitely number-wise on
Okay.
paper and plastic. It's all got to do with the dishwasher. what
Thank
the
you.
dishwasher can handle.
Okay.
Okay,
I have another
John.
question.
yes,
On
John's
on the cot lease.
right.
The current cot lease that we're operating under right now, when does that run out?
February 2019. So basically through next year.
Okay, do we have the ability with them, is that directly with the manufacturer, or is that through a middleman?
Through a middleman, in golf carts.
When that cart lease is up, would it behoove us to go direct with the manufacturer rather than a middleman?
I think that, I've talked to Clem about this, I think it's about time this winter, we discussed as a committee, start looking at the companies. There's 3 major companies that we, you know, whether it's a subcommittee or as the committee, we form a plan to start looking at new leases. So I think that it's good to start that conversation.
So we should do the pros and cons of both approaches then?
Yeah, definitely. And we've already had some of the local sales reps have reached out to us. They're very sensitive to what's going on in the area. They know we've got a new car barn going up. They know they're very attracted to the solar aspect we're gonna do. And they have, there's Easy Go is really excited to put their new lithium battery cart in play. So I've got them begging me to come to our committee meetings and do a presentation for the
Great.
committee. So we could do some of that this winter, maybe start that process.
Now, once the cart barn is completed, the contract that we have with this third party, are they willing to change the type of cart that we have so that we can go solar as soon as we can? Or electric, rather?
I wouldn't, I don't know, I haven't done that. Clem mentioned that earlier. I wouldn't, because I think it's best to see this contract through and then kind of go free agent, start fresh and see what's available. We could go through New England Golf Carts and see what they have available. I think it's better for us personally to put it out and see what all 3 of the companies would come back with.
Can we break the lease at any time?
I don't know.
Do we have, and I'm not quizzing you, because this goes back long ago, when we were looking for the lease, we never had a copy of the lease.
No.
And the town didn't either, and this goes before you.
Yeah, no, I did some digging to find one. I believe we did find a copy of it.
Oh, we did?
Yeah, I believe we do have a copy of it. That's when I tracked down the final date of the February 2019 when it's up. I think that you're bringing up a good point, John. I think we should look at all this stuff this winter. I don't like the current arrangement of the revenue sharing. I think revenue sharing is better for a golf course that's up and coming, maybe struggling to make it. I think we've got such guaranteed business that they're making out inappropriately large.
Yeah.
By the revenue sharing.
That was my point,
There-
actually, because I think revenue sharing is not the way
We
to
should
go
do a
in a
straight
public
lease
course.
and make our own money.
Straight lease.
There were a couple of flags in that deal that was brokered, and
Yeah.
one of them was the fact that we were involved in a 5-year commitment,
Yeah.
which is, I mean, you know the business, and
3's more standard.
3 is the standard.
Great.
With
So
a renewal.
I think it would be great that we take a look at it.
I do too. I'd appreciate the committee's input.
Yeah.
Like, if they're willing to come and do presentations, give us demo cards, I'd definitely invite the committee to get involved.
Yep. Great.
Okay, I think we're at a juncture where we can ask for public comment. Gentlemen? Yes, Mike?
Nothing about all of this, really. I'd like to say a couple of things. One is, again, I'd like to get on the microphone, please. Sure. I'd like to compliment Roman and the staff for a terrific year of golf. The tournaments are really run very well, very professionally. The customer service is terrific. Also want to compliment Sean and his crew. I mean, I think the status of the golf course is wonderful, as it always is, and you can't say that often enough. Primary thing that I wanted to bring up, and I don't think this board really has any say in that, but it's the way the restaurant is run. My understanding is that the contractor has to pay the town up front, and then whatever he makes, It's a short season. If the weather doesn't cooperate, you know, they can be under, the vendor can be underwater. And I think a better way of doing it, and again, I think that it's a big deal to make this change, is to have a very small upfront payment, and then the town share it as a percentage of profit or percentage of sale or something like that. So if you have a terrible year weather-wise, the town will share in the, I won't say the loss, but in the lack of profitability. And again, I don't think that you guys are the people who make this decision, and whether it's the selectman or the town administrator, or maybe it even has to go in front of the Board of Selectmen, I don't know. But it just seems to me it puts an inordinate burden on whoever is running the restaurant to have to come up with that money up front before they even start bringing any money in. I think Ron's done a terrific job. I think the restaurant, the hot stove is a real improvement. But again, I think it's really tough just to break even, let alone make a profit in a situation like this where you have a short season and you're so weather dependent.
I can address that, Mike, that the committee, Jeff Williams and I have met with Ron, and we're actually looking at that right now, seeing any future recommendations we can give to make things a little better there. So we're trying to get a little creative, but that's for a future report.
Appreciate the comments and amplifying on what Roman just said. This has been under study. I mean, you perhaps weren't here, but we have been looking at that carefully, because I think there's a consensus within this group that is very important. And
I'm Jeff.
I'd
Jeff?
make one clarification, I guess, is that he has a lease and he has an annual rent, and it's not paid up front. It's paid over the course of the year. And I know we have been willing to wait for that payment until it's been a better time for him to make that payment. So he did put a lot of money in up front on capital improvements, and that was part of the process of negotiating the deal. So, I mean, he knew what he was putting in, but, I mean, we are trying to come up with ways, but he didn't owe his rent up front, I think, just to be clear on that.
okay,
I just think the
John?
one thing that we have to be careful about, though, is we're not in the restaurant business.
yeah.
We're in the golf business.
Yeah.
And if we end up subsidizing a restaurant, we're better off going to a hot dog stand. I mean, I think we've been pretty fair in terms of putting some capital improvements back into the restaurant, which is fine.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't think we want to be in the restaurant business.
One thing I'd caution, though, is talking about this rates and fee structure, we'd have a hard time charging on the high end of fees on the Cape for Greens fees when we're offering hot dogs. People come for the whole experience. I think the restaurant's a big part of the experience we offer.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't think we have the expertise as a town operation to run an efficient restaurant.
Absolutely.
I agree with you, John, but I do think that we need to take a look at what parameters can be brought to this situation to make it attractive for someone like Hot Stove to come here.
Yeah.
As part of a value proposition about the golf experience, while at the same time, I agree with you, not paying his way. I agree with you.
Yeah.
But we gotta consider the larger picture here.
Good point.
He's like Bob Miller, he's part of the golf experience here, and part of the brand called Cranberry Valley. Like it or not, okay, that's the way it is. And when I think about coming to Cranberry Valley, I think of Bob Miller, I think about that range, and every time I go to visit another range, I sit and say, they can't come close to Cranberry Valley, I'm sorry, they can't. And I go to Hot Stove and I see how people are attracted now more to Cranberry, it's staying longer and spending more money than they have in the past, in my experience with Cranberry Valley. And I'd hate to see that disrupted in such a way.
Well, I think that's the key point, though, because, I mean, when we went through this discussion about a year ago, part of the problem was getting members and people that play golf at Cranberry Valley to really support the restaurant operation.
I think they
But I
are.
mean, if that's happening, that's good.
It is.
He's won back a lot of people.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Because I remember when we were going through the last time,
The
the last time we were negotiating the lease, I mean, part of the big problem was a person would finish a round of golf, they go right to their car and they're gone, and not really supporting the restaurant operation.
Ron's done a great job.
Good.
I look forward to your discussion after your findings with him, so.
Okay, if there's no further business to bring before the committee, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
Adjourn?
Are we gonna talk about vetting at all?
As a footnote, I can mention
Or
this.
you can put it at another meeting?
In my report to the selectmen, I think I put a little note in there that I was gonna try to include a couple of comments, one about vetting. Jeff, for example, is gonna, his term expires this coming June, and as we go forward, you know, some of us may or may not be here, and I think it's really important that the selectmen in the vetting process ask the right questions and focus on, you know, quality members to, you know, move on to this committee, and to give them some guidelines and help, I think is important. Because the bottom line is, as far as expertise in the golf business is concerned and so on, you know, I think that help to them would be profitable for us and for the other people that will go on with the committee. And the other thing too, I brought it up last year, and I'm gonna broach the subject, the remote participation as well, to make it more inclusive and accessible to people that aren't here 12 months a year.
Was it something I said?
And,
Possibly.
it's something I said, but those are,
Sorry.
those are two of the things that I'm gonna address to the selectmen.
That may not be a town issue, that may be a state
Yeah,
law.
I didn't,
I don't know the details of
I
it.
didn't get a real clear
What, in the remote
response
participation?
from them.
Did not,
You know, when I brought it up before,
from the town selectmen?
yeah, there was, I heard privately that there were two kind of opposing camps there on that question. But in the business world, as everybody knows at this table, the way things are today, I mean, you can Skype Skype somebody in Alaska face to face, and
But
it's easy to do, and it's not expensive.
We all know that governments are not the business world, unfortunately.
Well, in any event, and if you have any comments
I
to
think
share,
we should put the vetting thing on the agenda for the next meeting.
okay,
And I think we should come up with
I've-
some,
I've
I think
got-
we should come up with some potential questions that we could give to the Board of Selectmen that are interviewing for jobs in the Golf Committee.
Agreed.
good point, Joe, exactly.
Do you know the term schedule of all of us?
I do.
You do?
I
And-
actually,
and beyond Jeff in June,
okay, we've got Mr. Tom Johnson. Tom's date of appointment was June 19th, 2017. He is on until June 30th.
Of this
Bob
year?
Kingsbury.
Of this year?
Of this year?
Of 2020.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bob Kingsbury was appointed in 2015. It's June 30th, 2018. Jeff Williams, June 30th, 2018. John Crook, 2020. Clem Smith, June 30th, 2019. Martha Duffy, June 30th, 2019. And John Wheeler, June 30th, 2018.
18? No.
2018.
so there's three,
Because he's filling the term.
So there's
Jill.
there's
one,
three at
two,
risk in
three.
18,
Three, exactly.
which
Oh, are you?
somehow we actually should get that staggered better,
Absolutely.
staggered differently.
Yeah, yeah.
Because that's too large of a number, that's too big of an upset in any given year in perpetuity,
It's a great,
not just
Great point.
18.
great
Three
point,
people
Bob.
go at the same time.
Yeah.
That's right.
Good point,
Should be 2 each year.
So I don't know how we go about that,
yeah.
but that's something to
Well,
broach
it's,
the
it's something,
selectmen.
yeah, I think that's a good,
That should,
Why don't
that
you
should be,
email that to me?
that should be on our discussion next time, too.
Yeah.
Yes.
Bob, this is a unique situation, that I'm filling a slot.
But almost all of us have done that at some point.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
The term, your term was created long before you,
Yes.
and likewise.
Okay.
So this potential problem originated somewhere along the line, and I believe we should probably try to correct it.
okay.
For
Good point, Bob.
How do you go about
For the
correcting?
well-being of the board, of the committee, not us as individuals.
The only way you'd have to do it is stagger term limits, and you'd have to take a look at the current membership committee and put different
Ending date.
one person would be on the 1 year.
As an
term,
example, the
so-
3 that are due up in 18 would be renewed on a 1-year term, a 2-year term, and a 3-year term. And then after that, they could all go to 3-year terms,
Right.
and it would be, the stagger would be established.
Why don't you email that to
I
me?
think it was just done.
Okay. And by the way, I know it sounds incredulous in a way, but apparently on some of these committees, people never got sworn in, but they've been participating. Not on our committee, but I appreciate the fact that everyone's sworn in, and in terms of our ethics requirements, we're on schedule to have just 100% compliance there,
But
too.
I don't have ethics on that report.
I know, but
You don't have
my
any ethics?
my expectation, you will, rephrase that. My expectation is we'll have 100%.
But I can't believe that. I mean, I
I
know
know,
I did it.
We'll, this is
It
based on the
doesn't surprise me
recommendation.
that it has been or was misplaced.
Yeah.
Was not processed properly, I should say. It doesn't surprise me,
It could or could not be,
based on my experiences with the system.
but today, as I mentioned to the town clerk, I said, boy, it's tough, because when they came out with this recommendation, everybody said, okay, it makes sense. And then they raised the ante and they said, but you've got to renew it now every 2 years, and I think that's where people got a little bit sidetracked,
But they sent us a notice on when.
Oh, I know, and I
it
forwarded it to
expired.
you. It was pretty clear, but, everybody's busy, so.
Is it your responsibility to complete it online and print the certificate and bring it
Yeah.
into the town clerk?
Right.
Is that okay, same as me?
So guess what? You keep a copy of the
Yeah.
certificate, and you remind them by bringing it to them and say, here's another copy for you.
Yeah,
Not just,
I did.
not just that, I took a screenshot of that
That too.
certificate
That too. Right.
as an additional, because
That's what
things
I-
get lost in emails sometimes.
Exactly, not
And
long.
after doing all that, I didn't want to
Before
have
you.
it lost.
That was
Okay.
when everyone quit.
Back to my
right?
motion to adjourn.
I think you already had it.
It's already done.
Unanimous,
Done.
okay.
Done.
done.
Thank you.
Everyone-
Thanks, folks.